Hello, my fellow nightmarish degenerates. Welcome to the underbelly of your sleep, a place where the boundary between wakefulness and hellish dreams blurs until you can't tell if you're alive or trapped in a waking nightmare. I'm your host, and tonight we're diving deep into the fucked up phenomenon of sleep paralysis, a condition that doesn't just rob you of sleep, but in documented cases, nearly steals your life. Imagine waking up, eyes wide open, heart pounding like a jackhammer, but your body is frozen as if dipped in concrete. You try to scream, but no sound escapes. Then, in the corner of your vision, there's something that shouldn't exist. These are the moments of sleep paralysis, a state that turns our most intimate refuge into a stage for pure, unadulterated terror. Studies tell us that about 8% of people experience sleep paralysis at least once. But behind those clinical numbers lie stories so grotesque and bizarre, they'll make your blood run cold. These aren't just hallucinations. They can be preludes to tragedies that almost cost lives. Our brain, that wonderfully fucked up organ, sometimes sends us mixed signals. The paralysis itself is a byproduct of our REM sleep gone awry, where our body stays locked in sleep mode while our mind snaps awake. But when you add in those horrifying hallucinations, the shadow people creeping along your walls, you have a cocktail of terror potent enough to drive even the sanest among us to the brink. Now, let's play a little mind game. Have you ever felt like you were being watched when you knew you were alone? Like there was a malevolent presence lurking just at the edge of your awareness? For many victims of sleep paralysis, that feeling isn't an overactive imagination. It's a nightmarish reality. Documented cases reveal individuals describing shadowy figures, twisted shapes, and even voices whispering unspeakable horrors in the dead of night. Take, for instance, the case of John, name changed to protect the deeply disturbed. Every night, as he lay paralyzed, he saw a gaunt figure hovering at the foot of his bed, a specter with hollow eyes and a face twisted in silent agony. One fateful night, his terror escalated. He felt an overwhelming force pressing down on his chest until he thought he'd suffocated. He survived by the skin of his teeth, but the scars on his psyche run deep. Then there's Maria, a young woman whose episodes escalated to the point where she claimed the shadow figure spoke to her, a voice as cold as the grave, promising that her time was near. Her episodes coincided with a series of unexplained accidents at home. In one instance, a falling chandelier nearly ended her life. Was it mere coincidence, or was something far darker at play? I like to think these apparitions are not simply figments of a hyperactive mind, but glimpses into a parallel realm, a realm where nightmares have weight, where darkness is as tangible as the blood pumping through your veins. And if you're clever enough, you'll begin to question. When you lie there, paralyzed and terrified, is it just your brain playing tricks, or are you flirting with death itself? You might be thinking, surely it can't get any worse than being scared out of your mind, right? But let's push further down this rabbit hole. There are documented cases where sleep paralysis has nearly led to fatal outcomes, where terror spills over into reality. Consider Elliot, name changed, real shit, a successful entrepreneur whose particularly brutal episode left him so traumatized he suffered a severe heart attack. His heart, already vulnerable from years of stress and overwork, couldn't handle the shock of constant paralyzing terror. The hallucinations, an oppressive presence seeping into every corner of his room, triggered a cascade of panic and ultimately a fatal heart rhythm. Now, I'm not saying sleep paralysis is some cosmic assassin on a mission to kill you, but when you read the grim details of Elliot's case, when you see the autopsy report mention acute stress-induced cardiomyopathy, you have to wonder, how the fuck does a mere state of paralysis, a product of our own biology, become a gateway to death? There's also the case of a college student in Japan, Hiro, for instance, who experienced such severe episodes that he was convinced his own shadow was out to get him. One night, his terror reached a crescendo as he believed a monstrous figure detached itself from the wall and crawled toward him. The ensuing panic attack was so intense, he collapsed, nearly suffocating from fear-induced respiratory distress. Though he survived, his near-death experience remains a chilling reminder of just how dangerous these nocturnal horrors can be. What's truly fucked up is that these aren't isolated incidents. Sleep paralysis is a condition that, while common in its benign form, can sometimes trigger an avalanche of physiological responses in susceptible individuals. When your brain is already in a heightened state of fear, every shadow and whisper becomes a harbinger of doom. Now, let's detour into the murky intersection of science and the supernatural. Neuroscientists tell us that sleep paralysis is a natural consequence of REM sleep, a time when our bodies are immobilized to prevent us from acting out our dreams. But why do so many report experiences that defy mere biology? Some experts suggest that these episodes may be the mind's desperate attempt to process trauma, while others lean toward the possibility of supernatural interference. I like to think that our brains are not just biological machines, but sensitive instruments that can tune into frequencies beyond our normal perception. Perhaps during sleep paralysis, the veil between our world and something otherworldly becomes perilously thin. When you see a dark silhouette in the corner of your room, are you hallucinating? Or is it the echo of a tortured soul, a remnant of a past life, or something even more sinister? Here's a delicious thought to toy with your mind. What if these shadow figures are not the cause of your terror, but the product of it? What if your fear is so potent that it creates its own nightmares, manifesting as dark, malevolent entities that become self-fulfilling prophecies? It's a twisted loop where terror begets more terror, and in the worst cases, it might even lead to fatal consequences. Before you start questioning every shadow in your room tonight, remember this: you're in control. The human mind is a curious beast. It can be both our greatest ally and our worst enemy. The cases I've recounted are as real as the blood in your veins, but they also remind us how our own minds can play horrific tricks on us. Every time you lie awake in the dark, every time you feel that inexplicable weight on your chest, ask yourself, is this just your brain going haywire, or is there something more sinister lurking behind the veil of sleep? For those brave enough to face these nightmares head-on, consider this documentary a wake-up call, a call to understand, to explore, and maybe even laugh at the cosmic joke of our own fears. Because in the end, the line between science and the supernatural is as blurred as the line between sanity and madness. I invite you to question everything tonight. When you close your eyes, remember that darkness isn't empty. It's filled with possibilities, with echoes of forgotten souls and murmurings from a universe that doesn't give a fuck about your sleep schedule. Sleep well if you can, but never forget, sometimes the most dangerous nightmares are the ones you create yourself. And if that paralyzing grip of terror ever seizes you, take a moment to laugh, because in the face of death, dark humor might be the only thing keeping your sanity intact. Keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and never trust a fucking shadow.